Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. This is Cheap Comic Collector, and this is episode number 256. Today, we're going to be going through some books that I've read recently. Got a nice little stack here to go through. Although this one series I skipped over, but we'll get into that. So we'll just get right into it. So we got number one of something called Ghoul Scouts, Night of the Unliving Dead. So this was basically a mini series put out by Action Lab, and there was a follow-up series as well. And this is the first time I've ever heard of them. So this one's, I think somebody sent me this one in a trade. It is a little beat up, got a tear up here, so I'm going to be keeping it. And it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's basically about a scout troop that's they're in trouble, so they have to camp away from the other campers, and then they get attacked in the woods by the undead. It was written by Steve Bryant, drawn by Mark Stegbroer, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's it's not gory, it's not terribly spooky, especially it's just kids in the woods having an adventure, and it's very awesome. It is continued into the next issue. So this first story, it's kind of introduces the characters a little bit, and introduces the concept of that they're fighting zombies, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it would make a good movie. Actually, it looks to me like it has the makings of a good Disney movie or something like that. Would be cool. Based on this, so it's got some sketches and stuff about the characters and stuff and how they developed, and then it talks about how in follow-up stories they'll meet werewolves and vampires and stuff, which is why they're showing them on the cover, basically. And I think the follow-up story, what I saw about the follow-up story is it's about werewolves. So, and I don't think there's been a third one, at least not yet. So this is from 2016. This is from. So not too long ago, and like I said, it was pretty good. It's good enough where I'll probably go online and read the rest of this miniseries, because being from Action Lab, who knows how long it'll be before I can find the other issues. But definitely, I would pick up the other issues. It's pretty cool. And then next up we have Uncle Scrooge 144. This one's from 1977, and it's got this really garishly colored cover on it. It's bright, but it's I don't know. It looks like you should be able to stick that thing under blacklight and watch it glow, man. I don't have a blacklight, or we'd try it, but you see inside the cover there's a sad sack ad of for Hostess fruit pies. And then you get into a reprint of Uncle Scrooge number 28, I think it is. Got the Carl Barks story, The Paul Bunyan Machine. Now this is one of the few Carl Barks adventure stories that I was never overly impressed by. It's fun, it's good. Even Carl Barks, not at his best, is still better than 99% of the stuff being published. But and I know there's a lot of people who like this story. It's just, to me, it's just a little bit weird. Anyway, Uncle Scrooge has rheumatism because he senses somebody's plotting to steal his money. And it turns out to be the Beagle Boys. They've invented this giant Paul Bunyan machine they're going to use to chop open his money bin, like it shows here in his thoughts. And so he has to figure out a way to save his money, and the banks won't take it because they're already full with all his other money. So he ends up mailing it up north, and and then they fly up there to hide the money. And this is where it gets strange, because Uncle Scrooge, who normally is a sane person, I mean, for the most part, decides he's going to hide all his coins in hollowed out trees, which even as a kid when I read this, I thought was got to be the stupidest thing anybody could possibly do. But, you know, it's a plot point important to the story. So, and then completely accidentally, coincidentally, the Beagle Boys go up there and start clearing timber, because they find out that Uncle Scrooge's money is all gone, and they have to repurpose their machine to make money with it. So they take a job, an actual honest job, of clearing trees for the government. And it just happens to be in the same place where Uncle Scrooge has hidden his money. So Uncle Scrooge tries to defend his money. And then so they have like a battle of the machines with these two different machines battling it out here. And there's just a couple other odd elements to it that kind of you know, I mean, whenever you read comics, obviously, especially something like this, you have to be willing to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but this one just went overboard in a couple of places where it doesn't work real well for me. But it's not bad. And then from the same issue, Uncle Scrooge 28, you have a Gyro Gear Loose backup where he invents a mousetrap. And that's pretty good too for a gyro story. That's pretty good. It does feature Pete in a odd role for him to be in as a rival inventor. And that's pretty much for the Uncle Scrooge story. It's like I said, not a bad issue at all. Just wasn't one of the best ones in my opinion. And then Inferno, we have the entire 5-issue Inferno miniseries. And I started to read this, and then I stopped because I wasn't enjoying it. This is part of the Battle World thing, Secret Wars, Battle World storylines that went on. So it's basically when the back in the original Inferno storyline that ran through the mutant titles, you know, New York was taken over by demons, and the machines came to life because they were possessed and things like that. So this is basically that, but if the demons had won. The art's fine, the story's probably fine, but I got about halfway through the first issue, realized I wasn't enjoying it, so I just stopped reading it. And it could be perfectly fine, you know. It's just like, it's one of those things where, oh, that's a cool Vision shirt right there. Sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, it just wasn't doing anything for me. It's like one of those stories where it's just constant battling. It doesn't really mean anything anyway, and there's number 2, and so I just stopped reading it. You know, some other time I maybe would read it and be perfectly fine with it. It just, I wasn't in the mood, I guess, that night for that type of a story. It just wasn't working for me. And I was like, you know what, I got a whole box of stuff. Well, yeah, I'm sure I can find something I'll enjoy reading. So so yeah, these ones here, I stopped reading it. There's number 3, number 4, and number 5. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, it will be in a future sale. And so instead, I grabbed Tweety and Sylvester. And obviously, this one was part of the Cindy Black collection, who apparently got a name stamp for Christmas or something. And this was a fun little issue. It's from 1977. It's number 72, and it's just got Tweety and Sylvester doing different things. This first story has Sylvester trying to break into the movies. He has to lose weight, then he has to gain weight to get the acting role, which is actually pretty true of Hollywood, I guess. And then there's a second story called The Time Machine, where this guy captures them and sends them back in time. So you got a dinosaur and cavemen, and then there's an ancient version of Tweety and Sylvester. And then there's one called Fly Me, where Sylvester's tired of the cold, Tweety's tired of the cold, so Tweety decides to fly south to Florida, and Sylvester gets a deal where he's treated first class. The airline's paying for it because they want to make a commercial of him reuniting with his friend Tweety, not knowing that he actually wants to eat Tweety. So they leave him stranded in Florida at the end, and so he has to make the same deal with a different airline in order to get back. And there's another story called All Puffed Up. In this one, Sylvester tries to give Tweety some fake birdseed that will make him fat so he's easy to catch. Unfortunately, Sylvester ends up getting it instead because he bakes it into a cake, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, nothing really stand out. It was a fun issue. I never really looked that closely at the cover because I got distracted by the Cindy Black name tag there. But it's Sylvester looking into a crystal ball of him getting knocked out by Tweety. So that's kind of a clever cover. It's not. I don't know that it's necessarily a good cover because it's kind of hard to tell what exactly is going on there. But it's interesting. So yeah, story-wise, nothing great, but it was amusing. I got a chuckle out of it. And then next up, we have my first exposure to Astro City. Now, I've been aware of Astro City, but I've never read any of it. I didn't know what the concept was. I didn't know anything. After I read these, I looked it up. There was there's apparently plenty of comics. It's over, between all the various series and mini-series and specials, there's over 100 issues, I think I read. And this was good. This was really good. The first issue, I was kind of indifferent to. It's got this guy here talking to the reader. He's called the Broken Man. I think this is his first introduction. This is the Vertigo series. I read the first, I think, 5 or 6 issues of the Vertigo series, and it was good, and different. I didn't quite not knowing the concepts or the characters. I wasn't quite clear on what was going on, but I didn't need to be. They're kind of archetype characters. So you just kind of read through it and go with the flow, and it was a good issue. I wasn't, what I didn't realize, it was just going to be a standalone story because it ends sort of on a cliffhanger, and I would imagine at some point they bring this guy back. But anyway, I should tell you about the story a little bit. First of all, it's got this guy. He talks to the reader. He breaks the fourth wall and talks to the reader, and so you got this girl here who is a new type superhero. You got the Broken Man kind of narrating the whole story through these purple word balloons. This giant door appears. She tries to break into it. She can't. And this guy, who is apparently the main character for Astro City, uh, he's called Samaritan or Good Samaritan or something like that. And he's basically Superman. And it briefly takes a look at a few other characters. And anyway, this guy's just a normal guy, right? He's got daughters. He's meeting with them, and then so all these superheroes are attacking this door because they don't know what it is, trying to get it open, and then it opens up, and this guy comes through. He wants to. Supposedly they're, it's peaceful. He wants to be friends. But he asks for a volunteer so that they can learn about the planet. So the normal guy basically volunteers. And according to the Broken Man here, we as readers kind of forced him into that. We nudged him into that. And then it ends with the Broken Man is just basically a psycho in a mental ward. So you don't know what's real, what's not. So the first issue was kind of oddball. It was good. I enjoyed it. But it was kind of strange, a little strange, right? And so then I started reading number 2. And 3, 4, and 5. I got the first 5 issues. So number 2 starts off with completely different characters, completely different story, right? Broken Man's nowhere in sight. And it's just about this woman who answers an ad, and she basically becomes a 911 operator for the superheroes, right? So she screens calls and decides what calls merit the inclusion of the superheroes and which ones should just be rerouted to the police or social services or what have you. This is one of the best comic book stories I have ever read. I can't give any higher praise than that. This is a fantastic story. And it's got superheroes in it, but they're incidental to the story. So yeah, but the storyline is basically about this woman, how much she likes her job, how good she's getting at it, and so on and so forth. And then at some point her and her co-workers get called on the carpet because they're sending calls through that aren't important enough for the superheroes to handle. And then so they get reassigned to something else for a little while. And then when they go back to the call center, the one lady, not the main lady, but another lady, makes a call that is very important. She's a hero because she made the right call of calling in the superheroes and so on and so forth. And then it ends on a cliffhanger a little bit of they're out celebrating, and the main character, this big superhero fight ends up happening in this one locale, and it's basically her fault because she sent social workers on this call rather than the superheroes. And so when the social worker went, the social worker got murdered, and then the cops got called in and they got murdered, and then the superheroes came in, and now it's a great big battle because it's actually the secret hideout of the bad guys that they've been looking for. So it's continued in this 3rd issue, and make sure you get a good look at the cover there. Oh, it's actually a cover. The 2 covers form a big image. I didn't realize that. That's cool. And of course, the covers are by Alex Ross, so you can't get any better than that. So this one continues that story, and so she is actually kind of abandons her job. She goes and uses her job facilities to transport to the affected area. She wants to find the child that she had sent the child service workers for, to see if she's still alive or not. So she ends up finding this guy who is turns out to be one of the bad guys, and then she follows him and finds the kid and her mother that she was trying to help in the beginning, and the superheroes arrive because they've actually been tracking her on her ID card that she uses to use the transport gates. So, because they wanted to see what she was up to, so they end up, talking to her and telling her she thinks she's going to get fired, and she ends up, basically, she was the way in that allowed them to take care of things and so on and so forth. And it was just a really, really good story. It's like I said, it's one of my favorite all-time stories that I've ever read in a comic book, especially the superhero comics. This was a fantastic story. Fantastic. And the next issue is actually pretty good too. Number 4, got this lady in it. And again, this is the main star. The superheroes are kind of incidental to the storyline of what's going on. So this lady has low-level telepathic abilities. And there's a bunch of people that have like low-level superpowers. And so they work normal jobs. They help a lot with making movies, doing special effects, and things like that. But she gets kidnapped. She gets attacked and kidnapped because there's bad guys that want to use her abilities. This guy, the Major Domo, kidnaps her, and he's kidnapped other ones that have low-level abilities. But it turns out they all network with each other, and so they've been basically been forewarned ever since she was approached to work for them that something was going to be going down. So they're prepared. There's another lady that she's friends with that talks to machines, and they basically get machines to do whatever she wants. So she makes it so none of their stuff works, their ship doesn't work, their weapons don't work, and they just basically capture them and then call in the government to take them down. And then the main superhero, the Samaritan, shows up to talk to her while she's just eating lunch and talk to her a little bit, because they know each other because she's helped them out before and stuff like that. And then that's the end. And it was cool. It was a really unique look at a life in a world with superheroes, I guess. Just very, very neat. And then we get to the 5th one, which I didn't like at all. Not very much. Same writer, same concepts. It's just this broken man. I don't know where they're going with this broken man guy. He basically is hosting the story again. So it shows it starts to tell a story somewhere back in the 30s or something, and the old, something that happened back in the 30s or 40s. And then it gets to a certain point, and then it just stops. The broken guy stops the story. He's talking to the reader, telling him, no, you can't look at that story right now. You got to look at it later, or something like that. And so it goes into another story, and then he stops you again. That one only lasted two pages, and then it goes into this one. This one he's going to let you see, I guess, because you want to see a story. So. And then it ends up with him again at the end. So I don't know what they're doing with the broken guy. He doesn't really work very well for the stories. I like these standalone stories. This overall arc with this purple guy is just weird and bizarre and very readable. It's very readable, but this one was frustrating because every time you got into the story a little bit, he'd stop you from reading it. So. And then there's a preview of another series called Hinterkind in the back of that issue. But yeah, I'm actually gonna be looking for this series from now on, because this was, like I said, these were really good. This is one of my 2 and 3 were one of my all-time favorite stories that I've ever read in a comic book. So really good stuff. Written. I think these were written and drawn, I think, if I can find the credits. Anyway, this whole series is basically, yeah, there he is. Kurt Busiek was the writer. Brent Anderson was the artist. Alex Ross does the covers, and just a fantastic team. The art's great. And the story is just phenomenal, and especially in this one. So obviously, Astro City gets my favorite vote, even though I didn't care too much for 1 and 4, or 1 and 5. 2, 3, and 4 were great. 2 and 3 were fantastic. Just like I said, some of my favorites of all time. And then Inferno I didn't even finish reading, so that's got to get my worst vote of the bunch. But there you have it. That's what I read. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you like it. Tomorrow I got some more stuff in the mail. Promise I won't sing. Yeah, we got trades coming in from Psychotronic Squirt Gun. Aaron, my good friend Aaron. We're trading with him tomorrow, and I don't know what I'm going to trade him yet because he hasn't requested. He's only requested like half the amount of books that he actually sent. So, at this point in time, probably by the time you see this, the trade will be done. But anyway, we'll go through what we got. We'll show you what he sent. Some good stuff in there. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you have a good one.